Dun 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 dun. Hey everybody. Sorry, I really need to come up with an intro song. Welcome to Pretty Sketchy Podcast, number 7. My name's Corey, and with me as always is acclaimed author and former Jamaican bobsled team manager, Michael Marshman. How you doing, man?
Why do you keep pairing me up with like black teams?
Because you're my black man.
Wow.
Oh my god, that actually sounded way worse than I intended it to. I mean, it sounded like sweet and adorable, but that was awful. Can we just let's start again? What? It's live? What? Fuck. All right.
You keep giving me material for Corey out of context.
Yeah. Corey out of context is going to become like the hot new thing this summer on YouTube and probably Reddit. Okay, so first of all, like I always do, I'm just going to explain what we're doing here. Oh, you know what? I'm going to switch to an actual camera where people can see. There we go. Okay, so Michael was good enough to write an exceptional comic book story, and I'll be illustrating that story. So I thought rather than just waste a whole bunch of time, in dark corners where no one can see, I figured it might be helpful for people to see the process. So that's what we do. We live stream every 2 weeks, me drawing, Michael's story, and we just talk shit the whole time. So that's what you're here for. So we we stream live on YouTube, and we also dump out the audio to a podcast on iTunes. So you can find us there on Pretty Sketchy Podcast. So what's happening, man? What's been happening?
Well, I would like to bring up the fact that until very recently, you were stressing. I wasn't as much because we had nothing to talk about. Yeah, which in itself is something to talk about. Yeah,
that is very true. It seems like, I won't say a lot of work goes on in the background for this podcast because it really doesn't. But I do find myself, throughout the week just going, man, I really need to come up with something to talk about, And so I'm scouring, social media and stuff for any new sort of comic book related news or like movie related news, all that sort of stuff. But it's just, I like to try and find things that aren't, the flavor of the week so much, like we do talk about big movie trailers and stuff that come out, but I feel like everybody does that. You could listen to any podcast that's even basically referencing pop culture and you'll find, the same topics come up every week, whether it's Kevin Smith or whether it's Rooster Teeth or, the Patch or whatever, they're always talking about the same things. It's the news of the week. So I try and find things that are a little bit less obvious, Having said that, sometimes I get to 5 minutes before the podcast to go, shit, I got nothing to talk about for an hour, But so far, so good, man. We haven't really had any major issues. Mostly because I never shut up. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, that plays a big part. Yeah. Which takes a lot of stress off me. So
yeah, cool.
I can sit back and just sort of, relax.
Yeah, you're essentially here to keep me in line. I feel like that's our dynamic, Well, okay, so let's talk about today's page. This is page 3. Last episode I was working on this center panel, which I'm actually reasonably happy with for pencils. So this top panel is going to be sort of like how would you like a kind of a lyrical panel about Nisa learning to fly, and she's sort of getting it together and stuff. So what Michael came up with is maybe her flying above the treetops, brushing leaves with a hand or something like that, but without showing. We don't want to show her actually flying yet. We don't want to see. That's why in page 2 you only see silhouettes of her flying and things like that. So that's a kind of a cool idea. What I'm struggling with is trying to work out how I'm going to actually illustrate that. But I've got some ideas. I'll just throw some stuff down and see what happens. So that's where we're at with today's page. So yeah, man, you went and saw Arrival. Tell me about it. As someone who, goddamn it, never gets to the movies these days.
Unless it's like Star Wars or a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's got to be Star Wars or a Marvel movie. And even then, I haven't even seen Doctor Strange yet, so...
Jeez, falling behind.
I know. Well, I got some catching up to do. So tell me about Arrival.
I'm still thinking about it. I went and saw it on Tuesday, 2 days ago, and it's still sort of in my head. I'm just thinking about it and like not really what it meant, but just I don't know. It was just such a great movie to me. I've noticed that some people like it, some people hate it. Um, a friend of mine, I didn't hear this directly, but he said he hated it. Um, Mainly because his reasoning was they give you a little bit at the start, and then they give you a little bit at the end, and then you got to figure it all out in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I didn't quite see that. Like, I kind of, I stayed with it the whole time, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's very different. It's not your typical sci-fi movie where aliens arrive.
Okay.
Um, there's, I don't think you see any violence at all in the whole movie,
Oh wow.
from what I can remember.
Well, that's
Yeah.
terrible. What are we... So far, not off to a good start.
Um,
Yeah. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
yeah, it's more about, what would happen if aliens sort of arrived like they did and just sort of stood there. And it's more about um, the potential of humanity, I suppose.
Yep.
What they can do when they work together and how divided we really are as a species, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
So,
a lot
so
of it also has
is
to
it
do
more that
with,
it's an imminent threat and humanity that just doesn't know how to handle it? Like,
well, it's not even a threat. It's
it's just there.
yeah, it's there. Like basically the premise is these aliens have arrived. The main character is a language sort of expert. They need her to translate what they're saying and find out what their purpose is on Earth, like why are they here.
Wait, who plays that?
Amy Adams.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, Forrest Whitaker's in it, by the way, which kind of bugs me because he plays a colonel in the army. How the hell did he get to colonel with an eye like that?
That's right. He can't see shit.
Yeah. Um, but yeah,
That just shows
she
how awesome he is.
yeah, I suppose. She takes on the task of translating. She kind of tries to teach them a bit of English, and they sort of reciprocate with showing them their written language,
Okay.
which is, oh my god, how am I going to explain this? It's a group of symbols. Like their language is basically symbols that are sort of mostly circles with like bits and details coming off the sides and whatnot, and they all mean different things.
Right.
She even says like, they can create complex sentences in 2 seconds, where
Yeah.
we sort of have to take our time and do whatever, blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah, the way the symbols are, it's like it goes. Like I said, it's mostly a circle. They don't quite connect at the end, so it's more like a line that curves, and it gets sort of thicker in the middle and thinner at the end. And that's a very key part to not just their language, but the movie as a whole.
Right.
Like the way the movie's structured. Like when my friend said he hated it, they give you a little bit at the end and a little bit at the start, and you got to figure it out in the middle. That's the way the movie's structured. Like there's not a lot there, but the bulk of it is, and that's the exact same shape as their language, their symbols.
Wow. Okay. That's really insightful. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. Even like the main character's daughter, she names her Hannah, which is a palindrome, which is the same backwards and forwards.
Yep.
Like just shit like that throughout the whole movie, and just the story in general. And like I said before, the message of the potential of humanity and what we can achieve if we work together. All of that just combined, like the visuals, the cinematography was fucking fantastic. On top of that, and like the acting was brilliant. It was just a great fucking experience.
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. So
I've
yeah,
got to check that out.
there were even parts in the movie that were, to me, were just kind of unsettling and terrifying. But it's mainly when she goes to meet the aliens for the first time, and
So do you actually get to see them? Like, how did they handle that?
you see them.
What do they look like? Like,
My
like-
initial my initial reaction was they look like Thing from the Addams Family, because like they're basically just these long sort of fingers, thin black fingers that go up into this other sort of mass that you don't quite see until near the end of the movie, and they just make these weird, unsettling noises, kind of like a mix of a whale and I don't know what else, like a creaking house.
Wow, that's cool.
I guess.
So would you say it's an original concept as far as like the design goes and stuff? Because I feel like Hollywood often falls into the trap of coming up with variations on the same theme. You know what I mean? That's why Live Die Repeat. What's that movie?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow was so great because the aliens were like nothing you've ever seen before.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I really love that they came up with a whole new initiative as far as what the threat was. You know.
Yeah, well, they did that in Arrival. It's a very you haven't seen this design before.
Yeah.
I think it was a necessity because most Hollywood aliens are very humanoid. Like, got 2 arms, 2 legs, mouths, eyes. These don't. They're multiple appendages. You don't even know if they're legs. They kind of function as legs. It's how they walk around.
Yeah.
But then it's just this sort of mass, and they don't have a traditional mouth, so they can't even learn to speak our language. Like, they can comprehend it, they could probably read it, but they need that language barrier there for the plot to be believable, I suppose. Yeah.
That's really cool. What was I going to say? Aliens.
Did I leave you speechless, Corey?
Yeah, I think you may have.
My God.
Oh my God. No, I had a question about the. Oh yeah, that's what it was. More of a statement. What I really liked about what's the Matthew Arad space movie? What's it called?
Interstellar.
Interstellar. More than anything, other than the fact that it was one of those sci-fi sort of, it's like a high budget art house sci-fi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like it's beautifully shot and all that sort of stuff. Great concepts, and the thing that stood out to me the most was the design of the little robot dudes, large robot dudes.
Yeah, they were just like,
because I'd never seen anything like that before, and it's really brave for, especially in Hollywood, where no one really knows what something's going to be like until it's finished, and people take it on board. So trying new things is always the scary part, and that just making the robots just a block. And the funny thing about it was, like, you can conceptualize that all you want, but it's one of those things where in practice you'd be like, yeah, I mean, like if someone came to me and said, hey, I came up with this idea for a robot for the movie, it's basically going to be a huge monolith that breaks into several pieces and can create locomotion by turning parts of itself and things like that. And I'm like, I just feel like that's impractical, but then you see it in motion and it's fluid and it's beautiful and it's perfectly designed for essentially all environments, and things like that. Like, it's just genius. It's like the simplest design can sometimes be the one that just makes more practical sense,
Yeah.
And I was really surprised by that. It really sort of in fact, the first thing I did when I went home is Googled it and thought, they've just taken somebody else's technology. This is some DARPA shit or something, because it looked like, in all practicality, that it would work, even though it looked cumbersome and kind of, to be honest, kind of silly. When you saw it in motion, you're like, actually, that's kind of very practical and it makes sense,
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't hurt that it's based, well, not really, I don't know if it's based on, but it looks like the monolith from 2001.
Yeah, you know what I mean? There's something ominous about it too, because it doesn't have features. It has the personality of a person.
Yeah.
Which was also really cool. They didn't make it sound like a robot. That was new as well. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like, usually, even no matter how, like, how much they nail the human characteristics, they always give it something that that it's not real. And it's this thing's got sense of humor and personality, a dry wit, all of these things that that, like, if they got to that point where they can create AI that good, that's the thing that's going to be the next frontier. Is going to be like, you can hold a conversation with this artificial being now, but what's going to make it seem real is sarcasm and the ability to connect with you on a level based on humor and things like that.
Yeah.
Understanding each other is what makes friendships tick. You both share this. You always talk to friends. It's like, oh, we're like two peas in a pod. We share the same things as far as what's funny and social cues and social graces and stuff like that. That's what needs to match for people to have a successful relationship. And so that, to me, AI, that's the next frontier. They can pass Turing tests and stuff now, or at least they're getting close enough and all that. But that's under like pretty extreme circumstances. Put somebody in a real conversation, and it's going to trip up just about anything because of that. Like, it's not going to say anything funny. It's not going to say anything philosophical. It's not going to have a personality per se, outside of one that you can detect is just programmed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so out of 10, man, what do you think of the? What, you calling it? Is it a 10?
It'd be a 9.
Yeah, for
I'd
sure.
say.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Like,
Yeah.
not a lot of movies have affected me on a weird level like that.
Where you go
I
out
don't
and
think,
just think about it.
oh, not only that, like just emotionally, it was just very. I don't know. There was just something about it. That's one of the things I can't quite put my finger on. It affected me emotionally, but I don't know why.
Could it just be simply the tone? I mean,
Could it
there's
be?
definitely
Yeah.
movies that I've connected with just simply based on the tone of it, you know?
Yeah.
They
I
didn't have
think
to.
it might have something to do with like there's a revelation at the end, and the you see. How do I explain this without ruining it? You see the the main character played by Amy Adams. She makes a conscious decision to do something, which I found to be quite beautiful. I think a lot of like other people, like other characters in the movie, kind of didn't like her for it. Essentially, sort of left her because of it. But I don't know. I thought it. I don't. Yeah, like I said, it was just like it was a beautiful thing to me, and it was just amazing. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, now I'm going to have to see it.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna have to. Yeah, knowing you, you'll see a lot more in it than I ever will. So
I don't know that. I don't know about that, man. You get pretty deep with things, but yeah. I mean, I do like a good traditional sci-fi. You know, like not. I'm not talking about sci-fi as far as Independence Day. I'm talking
yeah,
about the legit kind. You know. Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about is, as we all know, Michael does another podcast called Defacast, which is him and his buddies talking about movies that they watch together, usually recommended by one of them the other guys haven't seen. And I've actually been listening pretty hard, man. I did Last Starfighter yesterday.
is that the last one that's up?
I think there might be one. Chef might be up. I haven't listened to that yet.
Oh, okay.
But having said that, I haven't seen the movie, so I may not connect with it as much.
Chef
I've been
is a good
pretty
movie,
lucky
man.
so far. I think the only one I haven't seen is haven't seen Kroll, but I haven't listened to that podcast, and I haven't seen what's the other one? Your one.
Old Boy.
Old Boy. Yeah, I haven't seen that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Man, what do you think of the Tangled one?
Oh shit! I haven't watched that. I haven't heard that one either. See, what
Okay.
the problem is? There's been a little bit of a mishap, as you know, with the uploading.
Yeah.
And so what's happened is Carl has taken all the episodes down and is putting them back up. So I would have got to that, but it was taken down yesterday. So that'll all be sorted, hopefully, in the next couple of days, and everything will be back up there in good order. Yeah, but whose idea was Tangled?
Mine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I rate it over Frozen. Take that, internet.
Oh, okay. All right. They just shut down the live stream. Thanks, bro. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I was quite a fan too. Is it Zachary Levi plays the dude in that or what?
Oh shit, man, you're killing me. I was kind of hoping you'd say who plays Rapunzel, and I'd be like, Mandy Moore.
Oh, yeah.
I think you might be right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because I can remember my sister-in-law saying, "Oh, I had no idea he could sing." You know.
Well, who says he was?
Wow. The old ghost vocalist.
Yeah.
Nah, he seems like the kind of guy who could do everything.
Yeah, Zachary Levi.
Yeah, there you go. Let me get back to that. Yeah, widescreen shot. There we go. Cool. So yeah, I've the top panels there. What I decided to go for is draw like treetops, and just have a hand coming down from above, just swooping and just kicking up leaves. Like you got leaves sort of flying towards the camera. This might be a little hard to see, but I think that illustrates it pretty well.
Well, not to alarm you, but I can't see anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
Nothing at all because I'm not on your thing.
Oh!
And it's
Good.
also not on your channel either.
Really?
It's not in my subscription box, nothing.
That's weird, because I'm looking at the live stream right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be something to do with YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's delayed or something. Public, so,
By quite amount.
Hey, you know what? If there's one thing I've learned from listening to other people's podcasts is no one's immune.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bottom third of the page was going to be a couple of over-the-shoulder conversation boxes, and then the 1,000-yard stare of Grandpa, like looking out.
I've seen some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll start working on that. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, getting back to Defacast.
Yes, Carl asked you to be on it, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And the problem I've got with that is I've got to come bringing a movie. I've got to come up with an idea of what to watch.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh yeah, cool. I got tons of movies I like. But then you start breaking it down and go, well, what? I get kind of one shot at this realistically. What's the one film I can bring that defines me as a fan of cinema?
Man, I think you're thinking too deeply about this.
I get that, but see, you guys get to do it every week. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, well, that's easy. I could say, and the one I came up with was what was it? Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? But I mentioned that to Carl, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I know Marshman's seen it. I'm pretty certain he has too, and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, scratch that. That one was too easy, But then I was
actually planning on choosing that at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't give a fuck if they've seen it. I'll just be like, yeah, we're watching that. Deal with it, Dave.
It's an amazing film,
Oh, yeah.
But then I thought, I got to find something a little bit more niche. And then I thought maybe Primer might be a good one. But then it's kind of one of those ones where it could be hit or miss, like it is kind of one of those slow burns, you know? It's a thriller, but it's a slow thriller. And it's low budget and stuff, and that might rub people the wrong way and stuff. So I'm like, and then I'm like, well, some of my favorite movies are like Bill and Ted and Basketball and things like that, but I don't want to bring anything too lowbrow,
Yeah.
And so now I'm just in this weird, what about Eric the Viking? That'd be kind of cool. I'm looking at my DVDs right now.
Well, here's the thing. I'm in a very weird spot right now because you're throwing out all these movies, and the whole point of the intro is that no one else knows what you're picking.
Yeah, but I'm sort of throwing things out that I'm probably not going to pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm just sort of showing you what I've decided not to do. The Thing would be awesome, but I guarantee you've all seen that.
Yeah. Have you seen the remake?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, so did I. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'll come up with something. There's got to be something in my backlog of weird films that I seem to be the only person that likes. Because that's what it's all about, right? It's all about bringing something that you're a huge fanboy of that no one else seems to get. That to me seems like what you do. The other one I was thinking of, but I thought maybe it's going to be tough for everyone to get a hold of, was Caravan of Courage.
Oh wow!
And I figured, there's some Star Wars fans in the group, obviously. So I'm like,
think about 3 of us are Star Wars fans.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's probably, everyone's probably seen it. Although probably no one's seen it for many, many years. But it's just, it's funny watching a Star Wars movie in the Star Wars universe, but it's low rent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all of the other films are like of such a high caliber, and then you get this one where it's like it just looks like a made-for-TV 70s movie, or early 80s movie, and I'm like, oh. I watched the trailer and I'm like, what is this acting? Like what is going on? There's Ewoks, I get that, but nothing else makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I'll think about it and I'll come up with something. I don't know when it's going to happen or whatever. So I think I've got some time.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, just don't think too hard on it, and don't concern yourself with whether or not we'll like it.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, there's been several misses, I think. So I'm not
Yeah,
too worried about that.
it's a totally selfish thing. Like whoever's turn it is it's an absolutely selfish thing.
It's quite all right to subject the other guys to what you want to
Yeah,
watch. Yeah,
yeah,
fair
pretty
enough.
much.
That's pretty cool.
Believe me, I've got some in the bank that I'm waiting to use.
Just as a punishment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Yeah, man. So yeah, everybody check it out. It's you go to I guess it's on YouTube, but go if you want it on iTunes. It's under Mental Piracy Productions, but you can just search Defacast and it should show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about doing the Dark Crystal at some point.
Okay, yeah.
It's been ages since I watched it.
Oh,
I feel like watching it again.
it's funny you say that.
Oh my god, I totally forgot you were bringing that up.
I got a segue. I was going to talk about it later, but yeah, I was just trolling for something to talk about, and I discovered that they're making a sequel, but in comic book form. So they actually wrote a script apparently for a sequel to the film, and it just never got made for whatever reason. Can't imagine why. I'm pretty sure it was a successful film. Maybe it's only a cult success. And it's Brian Froud's designs and stuff are all going to obviously play a huge part, but they've taken it upon themselves to bring in some new characters. Well, they had to. Obviously, the script dictated it. So now you got your Gelflings and your Skeksis and Podlings and stuff, but they've brought in Firelings. In fact, I think the main character may be a Fireling, Fire-ling. But I thought the story was really interesting because you've seen it, right?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
Yeah. So in the first one, you got Jen meets up with Kira. They go and take down the Skeksis by reuniting the crystal and bringing harmony back, and the Skeksis and the Mystics merge and become, it brings balance back to the world.
Yeah.
Well, the plot of this one's really interesting because basically what happens is Jen and Kira become rulers of the land, and in doing everything that requires, they lose focus and forget about the people and just start being rulers.
Yeah.
And so people are starting to get concerned and stuff like that. And this main character, this little Fireling or whatever, hooks up with another Gelfling from wherever that may be, because I thought that Jen and Kira were the final two. And
they could have made more.
They go on a quest to steal a shard of the crystal and, and sort of do whatever it is they're doing, but they inadvertently bring back the Skeksis and all that sort of stuff. But I thought it was interesting because like the good guys from the first movie become, I guess, imbued with too much power and forget about the reason they're there, which is really bold move from what I could figure,
I wouldn't say they become villains either. It seems like they just become misguided.
Yeah. But that in itself is complacency is just as bad, I mean, it's not nearly, I guess it's not really as bad as the Skeksis evil bullshit, but yeah, it's just I thought it was just a cool take,
Yeah. Never thought I'd see the Skeksis again. They traumatized me enough as a kid.
Yeah, they'll do that. You know what I figured out one time, because we had this pet bird, right? And he got sick and he was on his way out. And before he did, I don't know whether his feathers fell out or he pulled them out or whatever, because he wasn't in a good way. But Skeksis are basically birds with no feathers.
Yeah.
They put some teeth in there. Like it's terrifying when you see a bird with no feathers and you're like, that's a Skeksis. Yeah, but way to bring the room down, Corey.
Yeah, I know, right? Jeez.
My poor bird.
Talking about dead birds and shit.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, so
Oh, yeah, now you're making me want to watch the movie even more.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
When's
it'd be a good
when's
choice.
the comic due for release? Do you know?
You know what? I didn't notice, but funnily enough, I have right here. So, there's Ogra. You won't be able to see this, but I've got some images.
I have Google right in front of me.
Here's what I prepared earlier. What you can look up as far as artwork is Jay Lee's cover design. See, there's your Gelflings there and Fizzgig. It's just going through like there's the Skeksis, as you can see. It's like they look like vultures essentially. But just that they nailed the eyes and everything. They're just really sketchy.
Oh, there's some cool artwork.
Yeah, is that you looking at the cover?
No, well, it's like zoomed in, like it's focusing on the Skeksis in the crystal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. It's Jay Lee. You know, I'm a big fan of his work. He's obviously not doing the comic, but he did the first issue.
The cover.
Cover art,
Or
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but
February 15th.
there you go. Geez, that's not too
Shit.
far away. Okay.
Yeah, that's like a little bit after RTX, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I really hope they keep the tone of the art design. You know, like all the not work. You know what I mean? Like they had this real sort of. I mean, it's very dated and very 70s. But it to me that's part of the lore of the movie. You know.
Yeah.
Is that whole sort of very mystical hippie style artwork and. You know, I mean, it almost feels like, you know, it was written by druids.
Yeah, I mean, like, the fact that this is even happening makes me feel like it's a passion project anyway, so it'll be people that legitimately care about this universe.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't imagine they'd give it to people that is like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
You know, let's because like, what kind of money do they expect to make from this? Because like the Dark Crystal, I don't know if it was big for its time. I mean, it's definitely got a following.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's big enough to warrant a comic book, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I think where it'll sell is that it's the sequel. And people, you know, like it's one of those passion things where, like it definitely piqued my interest the second I read that. I'm like, holy shit. You know? Because like I remember that as an early childhood memory. And, you know, everything's about nostalgia now. I mean, look at the NES console. You know, the classic NES console. That's insane how that's been like selling out, you know. It's the same thing, you know, to me, my generation. Although it's kind of, I guess a lot of comic book readers are older people. So I guess it kind of works. You know, people in their like late 30s and all that sort of stuff do sort of read a lot of comics. From back before it was cool.
Showing your age, Corey.
Oh my God. Yeah, let me just tuck that back in. Yeah.
Hold on. Is this the first podcast with your new haircut?
Why, thank you for asking. Yeah, it is.
Oh man, you look like a fucking member of a boy band.
That's what I was going for.
Giving Nick Carter a run for his money, you know.
Backstreet's back, all right.
Oh
God.
My God,
boy band.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how this Dark Crystal thing turns out.
Yeah.
God, fuck you. I'm gonna watch the movie over the weekend. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, man.
Like I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I mentioned on an earlier podcast. I got games coordinator Michael from Melbourne, who is officially changing her name to Cloud. I might add, because Michael is an odd name for a girl. For a girl, yeah. She's been dealing with that for a long time. She's 20s, early 20s. And I said, you've got to check out the Dark Crystal. And like I said, I don't want to go over this too much because I said it before. But I don't know if she connected. I don't know if it resonated as much with her just simply because it was so visually dated. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out as far as sales, you know, because there are a lot of old people reading comics, but there's also an awful lot of young people who may not connect with it, you know. Although
the art could draw them in though.
Yeah, it could too. But I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, it is a classic film. Like people of my age group view it very fondly, and I mean they may have imparted that onto younger brothers and sisters, and you know these movies they're not universally just for a specific age group. You know, it's like Disney movies. They always find an audience in every generation. So you know, there's that as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. To me personally, I think it's a movie. If to have a connection with it, you probably had to watch it when you were really young.
Yeah, I feel that too. Yeah.
Kind of like you mentioned this ages ago. I think it was even a couple of years ago to me, because I've never seen The Princess Bride.
Oh, for sure, right.
And you kind of said a similar thing. Like, you know, if you didn't watch The Princess Bride when you were like a kid, you might not connect with it the way a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Over the years. I still need to watch that at some point.
Oh, you still haven't seen it?
No, I still like. I think it's, you know, required viewing.
Yeah.
Especially for someone like me.
Yeah.
The fact that I I recognize Princess Bride quotes in general,
Yeah.
and I've still never seen the fucking movie. It just goes to show how big it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
you did make me kind of a little worried that I might not see it the way other people do.
Yeah, but I
If you
mean,
know what I mean.
when I saw that movie, I saw it. It was a weird experience because it was like sports day at school, and it was rained out. So they took us all into this AV room and they sat us down and said, "There you go. We're just going to put on a video." And we're like, "All right, sweet." And nobody knew what it was. In fact, I don't think anybody in the room had ever seen it before. Like we were just all going, "What is this movie?" Like, fucking another thing. And by the end of it, we're all like, "Dude, this is the greatest film of all time." So we didn't watch it with any sort of going into it with any preconceptions or anything like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's definitely it's a kids movie, but it has a great sense of wonder and some great talent too. Like Billy Crystal's in it, and Andre the Giant, for better or worse, is acting in it. But it's a lot of fun. Like I wouldn't go so far as to say it's one of the great classic films of all time, but it's I hold it in my heart in a pretty dear place,
Yeah.
And I mean, they even at the start of the film, they even like basically Fred Savage plays the kid, and it's a bit like
Because isn't it like a dad telling his kid a bedtime story or something?
it's very much like the Never-Ending Story.
Okay.
I feel like it's Never-Ending Story, like they're trying to cash in on that same money. You know what I mean? So essentially, Fred Savage is homesick from school. He's got a tummy ache, and Grandpa comes over and he's like, it's Columbo, by the way. He's like, I'm going to read you a story. And he's like, oh, Grandpa, I just want to play video games. He's got like Nintendo baseball or some shit that he wants to play. And he, Grandpa's like, he's like, is there kissing in this story? And he's like, yeah, there's kissing. Shut the fuck up. But that's what he does. He reads the first chapter and it's all romantic, and that there was a young stable boy and he was fucking blah blah blah, and it keeps cutting back to Fred going, oh come on Grandpa, and then slowly the movie sucks you in the same way that it sucks him into the story, and I think that's just really brilliant, and it's just high fantasy, there's sword fights and swashbuckling and all that sort of activity, so it's that's what it is. It's in its purest form, it's an adventure film,
Yeah.
And Carrie Ells plays the Man in Black, who's the Dread Pirate Roberts, who's, it's you basically just got to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be interested to see your take on it, like as far as somebody coming in really late to the piece, But yeah, it's definitely one of my go-to. I would watch again many times films,
Yeah. For some odd reason, I imagine how different that movie would be if the grandpa telling the story was played by Mel Brooks.
It would basically be exactly the same.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
In fact, it has a very sort of I don't know if it has a Mel Brooks kind of feel, because it's not goofy. It has humor. I mean, where it gets Mel Brooksian is in the Billy Crystal parts, because he plays he plays this oh god, what is it? He plays a character called the Miracle Max, and he's this Jewish stereotype. Dude, have you seen Kimmy Schmidt?
No.
Oh, there's this actress in it, I can never remember her name, but she's been around forever. She's a total New Yorker, and she's one of these women who talks like she's from New York, like that. And she plays his wife, and she's always nagging him. He's like, "Shut up, woman! I'm trying to cast a spell." It's like it's beautiful '80s sort of, rhetoric.
Couldn't get away with it now, sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to tell the only thing that can wake him up is true love, but that doesn't exist. She's like, "Oh, it exists." He's like, "Shut up, woman!" I can't remember it verbatim, but it's like, that's where it gets a little bit more Brooksy, Yeah, but cool action, cool sword fighting. Mandy Patinkin's in it, and he's fucking awesome. He's playing this dude who's hunting. He's a Spaniard, and he teams up with Carrie Ells' character to hunt down this six-fingered man. who killed his father. He watched him kill his father because his father, I think, from memory, God, I'm going to get slayed. One, if anyone ever listens to this, and two, if I'm wrong, but he...
Get your torches and pitchforks, internet. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Get them ready. I'm pretty certain his father was a sword maker, made the finest swords in Spain or some shit. And this six-fingered man came and took one of his swords and killed him in front of this kid. So he grew up, and his sole purpose in life is vendetta. You know, like I gotta, find the six-fingered man and take him out. And so it's all that keeps him going. You know, but he's a brilliant sword fighter, and he has this amazing sword fight with Carrie Alls's character at the start because I think he's been sent to hunt him down or whatever. I can't remember. And they end up teaming up, but they have this awesome like sword fight where they're basically going through all of the staples of like, traditional fencing techniques and trying different shit on each other. And it's just brilliant, man. It's so good. But fucking just go watch it. In fact, go now. No, it's if you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's all it is. Yeah. But,
I'll get around to it.
Okay, so 7 to Eternity. You read that shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in the last couple of weeks, the two sort of new comics that came out that everyone seems to be buzzing about is 7 to Eternity, Rick Remender and Jerome Opeña. I'm a huge fan of this one. I think the artwork is brilliant. The world design is just unusual and distinct. And the lore that they've even just packed into just 2 episodes seems to just be really engaging. They don't explain anything. You're just in the world immediately, and it all seems very fleshed out already, which is really cool. I like the concept of, essentially it centers around, it's been a week or so since I read it, but I can't remember the names. This guy, the King of Whispers or whatever?
Yeah, the Mud King.
The Mud King. He's essentially, it's like that. What's it?
I love his ability, by the way. Like the way they explained it and how it works. That is fucking amazing.
So essentially, he offers you a deal, and he gives you whatever you want. But essentially, what he gets back from that is the ability to see and hear everything you see and hear. So with every promise that he delivers on, his grip on the world and his scope of everything becomes just a little bit more grand, Yeah. Is that have I got that right? Again, I'm
pretty much, yeah. Like
I've been reading them every 2 weeks, like or every month, like I haven't gone back and reviewed.
The very base of his power is like he bonds with your soul, like both of your souls bond together. So yeah, he gives you what you want, but yeah, he sees and hears.
And I love that his promises are basically a thin veneer of. It's almost like mind control. You essentially get what you want, and as far as you're concerned, you're getting everything you want. But it's kind of like being a junkie. It's not making their lives any better. They're just sort of slaves, I guess. It's almost a form of slavery. Like that one guy, he sees that beautiful woman, and she's not a beautiful woman. He just sees her as one.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like and then these dudes turn up. We don't know too much about them yet.
They sort of fuck with him and
cast of characters.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a few bits that were a little bit disjointed as far as the flow goes, about like what happens with the Mud King in this whole scenario.
Yeah, I mean the second issue was a bit all over the place in general, I think, but I think that could have been a lot to do with the fact that it was so long since I read issue 1 as well.
Yeah.
So
I love this. I love this dude. He can rip off appendages from other people and just bond them to himself.
Yeah, does mad.
What was his name? He had a cool name. What was it? Like Patchwork or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But either way, I recommend this. It's definitely one I'm going to look out for. As far as future issues go. Because I'm genuinely curious to see where it goes, and the artwork is sensational.
I absolutely love the offer that the Mud King gave to the main guy. How he's like, "I'll cure your disease if you."
Yeah, how good was the double cross though? He comes to him, he's gonna die, and he's like, "Oh, look, I'll give you my soul. I don't care anymore. Just help out my people." And he's like, "Well, fuck you. I know the secret. You're gonna die."
Yeah.
So what good is it if I take your soul for a month? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for a few months.
And he
yeah.
goes, what I'll do is cure you and you won't die. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That was brilliant. I thought that
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah, man. Very, very cool.
Mm.
The other
Yeah.
one that people have been talking about is Reborn.
Which you don't seem to be very into.
Mark Miller, Greg Capullo. It seems like a cool story. It just, the art style and the world design, as good as it is, it's too 70s fantasy for me. Like this dude, her dad, he looked, like I think I said to you, he looks like the bass player from Spinal Tap with his big handlebar moustache and stuff. And it's very like high fantasy mixed with a little bit of sort of futurism. And I'm not sure I'll get issue 3, don't get me wrong. Because I want to see where they take it, but it's just I don't know. I think more than anything, the art is which is great. It doesn't grab me stylistically.
Fair enough. To me, it feels like it's like a less adult heavy metal.
Yes, yeah. Actually, that's it. The tone is totally heavy metal. Yeah,
yeah.
But
just less boobs.
Yeah, 100%. See, I mean, again, this is like, well, that's not an action scene, so it's a bit of an unfair comparison, but. See how the art style is so much more simplistic than your Seven to Eternity. There's so much more texture and life and vibrancy and dynamics. You know what I'm all about with dynamic poses and framing each panel to have a purpose.
Careful, everybody. This is where he mentioned Sean Murphy.
Yeah, I was going to say Sean Murphy does that. I've got to say, man, me and old Sean Murphy have been coming pretty good buddies on Twitter. No, like it's funny though. Like every time I tweet a comment or something, replying to something he's posted, he always seems to like it now, and I'm like, it can't just be coincidence, right?
Maybe he actually listened to the podcast. He's like, hey,
maybe
these guys like me.
Yeah, actually, you know what I was going to actually suggest next time he's actually on Twitter. Because you could always tell because you'll put up something and they'll like it immediately and you're like, they're online. I was going to say, like, because he was talking the other day on Twitter about what sort of things would you like me to talk about on Twitter? And one of the things I posted was, can you put up more information about your process? Like what tools you use and stuff. A total nerd comment, to be perfectly honest. But it means a lot to me because when I started this process, as well as I did, it took me ages just to get started because I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what sort of paper to use. I didn't want to be the guy who got halfway through the book only to find out, you can't print that, or it's, it's not going to ink right, or it's, you've wasted a whole bunch of time. It's not going to look good, all that sort of stuff. And I looked everywhere online, Googling like, comic book process, what tools do you use? What do the pros use? All that sort of stuff. Cause I mean, I'm sure guys like Jay Lee and stuff, they have their own style, but it's probably, there'd definitely be a core system in place for professional comic artists. Like, I'm
like
sure
a
all
sort
the
of
DC
industry
artists,
standard.
Yeah, they use a certain paper, or they do a certain thing. And I looked into it a lot, and there's some very expensive paper that's pre-ruled with like, the right margins and everything like that. And the right kind of pens and the right kind of like, brushes for inking, and who uses what sort of quills and things like that for inking and all this sort of stuff. But the bottom line is there's no like how-to guide. There's plenty of people giving their opinion. And so what I took away from that is that, you know what, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just going to do my way. I'm pretty sure I can take it from pencils to press without too much trouble based on the little bit of experience I've got doing that sort of stuff in the past and all that sort of. But so I put that up and Sean Murphy actually replied to the tweet and said, just Google my name plus tools and you'll find some stuff. And I was like, oh, fuck, I never thought to specifically ask what does this certain artist use or whatever. I was just generally searching, like, what do comic book artists use? And so first thing I do is Google it. And he's got like a whole big blog thing on DeviantArt about this is exactly what I do. And this is what I did. And I'm like, fuck, why couldn't I have seen this months ago? But the interesting thing I took away from that, just sort of gleaning through it, is he goes, when I'm doing my DC stuff, I use this particular paper, which is the stuff that's pre-ruled and it's got all the margins and shit. And he goes, and the first thing I do is turn it over and draw on the back because those margins are fucking stupid. And he goes, nothing makes me feel more like less like an illustrator than being told where to draw, or something to that effect. And I'm like
boundaries.
Holy shit! Like that makes perfect sense. It never occurred to me to just go, well, I love Sean Murphy's art. What does he do? Because I figured guys like that are too busy to sit there and put up tutorials and shit, But I guess he just gets asked that much that it made more sense to just put it up there. So that was interesting, and incredibly helpful too, But yeah, I'll be glad when I start to sort of put some inking and stuff down in a way that sort of I'm really digging. I feel like even just on page 3, like this page I'm doing now, I feel like the pencils are already getting way better than they were in the last 2 pages.
Yeah.
Much more dynamic, much more depth in the background and stuff like that. So, I'm assuming what's going to happen is once I burn through a bunch of pages, and I will, I've just got to get some spare time to sit down and just draw, as opposed to just doing it only on the podcast. And that's going to happen. It's just a matter of time,
Yeah.
I'll eventually, I'd imagine, go back and do page 1 and 2 again. And I feel like I can knock them over really quickly because I've drawn them both like 3 times,
Yeah.
But just with what I've learned from just doing those pages and combined with this one, I feel like I can come up with something that's much more pretty to look at, a little bit better laid out, better technique, all that sort of stuff,
For the record, I am liking Reborn. I am very interested in where it's going.
Yep.
Just before we get too far away from it.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
I'm kind of with you on the art style. I do like it.
It's classic though. It is classic. Like this is what comic books looked more like when I was a kid. Probably a little bit more, definition than what was traditionally. But yeah.
Yeah. I know. I'm digging it. It, like I said, it's got a very less adult heavy metal. Maybe kind of a little bit of a Alice in Wonderland sort of vibe to it.
Yeah. I mean, I love that they throw you straight into the mysticism in that, like, she dies and then suddenly she awakes in this other place and everyone she knows who's died in her lifetime is there.
Yeah.
And they're spread out across the world and they all turn up at a different age, which I thought was really interesting too. Like, some people turn up as a baby, some people turn up as I think,
what was it her dad that said that he was 3 when he arrived?
Yeah. But still has the memories of that past life. Like, he knows who she is immediately. And I love that people can recognize each other immediately as well. I think that's kind of cool. There's no sort of trying to get to know people and going, hey, I know you, it's just they're immediately recognizable. I'll be interested to see how they tie that in, if they tie that into some sort of a process. Like, is it some sort of, like, is, say, Earth some sort of a fantasy realm to them where, like, where they're in stasis and they imagine that lifestyle, or is it just magic, or is it just dimensional, whatever, like, I'd be interested to see if there's a mechanic behind it as opposed to just random.
Yeah, they did explain it a little bit, didn't they? Like, the dad said Earth. Well, I don't know if he said Earth or not, but like that was the trial run. Like,
to get you ready for this place.
Yeah. Like, if you did good in Earth, then you'll be good here. I did like the fact that one of the bad guys is her old cat.
Yeah.
And
she took my testicles.
The line, they removed my testicles when I was 9 months old. In my head, I'm just trying to picture that in a serious tone, and I couldn't.
Yep. You know what? I kind of got taken out of it because of that comment. I know it's supposed to be dead serious, and it's like, wow, that's kind of a cool, idea and stuff. But at the same time, I was like, I'm just laughing too hard to take this seriously. Poor cat. Yeah, and then it made me think about Max, my dog, and I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy. Don't hate me. It's no wonder he doesn't want cuddles anymore. Yeah. Yeah, that was cool though. I do like it though. He's kind of like a Khajiit, but just as angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking cats. Yeah, so the other thing I was going to talk about is I got the PlayStation Pro, as you know.
God, you have not mentioned that to me at all. Like, you haven't said one word bad or good.
Oh, for reals? Okay, well, so I should establish, everyone knows PlayStation Pro is the new PlayStation 4 that's got, like, basically double or a little bit more than double the video power in the graphics card. And I got it because I, just through work. But it was...
Fucking brag about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like... it's kind of a little bit wasted on me because I have a 1080p TV and I'm not looking at getting a 4K TV anytime soon. And I mean, a lot of that processing power is there to be dedicated to 4K gaming. Or actually, not even.
You could always give it to me. I'll gladly take it.
I should say close to 4K gaming, because it doesn't actually even do that. I would consider it, man, except for the fact that I gave away my PlayStation 4. So,
that's all right. I'm going to be buying one soon anyway.
Okay. So the one thing I noticed is it's developed a whole lot of new issues, really, because I bought it for 1080p, which is not really what it's designed for. But what I was thinking is that extra graphics leverage will give the developers power to, I guess, push 1080p games further, and in my opinion, probably further than they can with the 4K games. Like the 4K games are going to be high res, they're going to look great, right? But the advantage of having a 1080p output is that you can take that extra power and you can do things like better draw distance, better foliage, tessellation, lighting effects.
That's what I figured they were going to do anyway.
All of the stuff that they couldn't shoehorn into the processing power of the PS4, they can add, right? And they're going to do that, and they've done that with a few games. But it's to the point so far where it's not overly noticeable. Like I haven't put in anything so far and just gone, holy shit, that's a complete game changer. And even then, like looking at a few videos online of say Battlefield 1 running on PC versus PlayStation Pro at 4K and things like that. There's not really that was actually surprising because there wasn't a lot of difference. Apparently the PlayStation 4 image is a little softer. It's not quite as sharp. But all of the effects and everything that you'd expect are there and all that. Again, I got it mostly because I figured it would aid, at least in the future. And I heard there's a few updates coming for VR games. And everybody knows the VR, everybody was saying before it came out, it kind of underpowered to be running VR in the first place. And to be fair, I haven't experienced that. I haven't looked at it and gone, I don't know if the frame rate's good enough or the graphics are good enough. I haven't felt that way playing any of the games, except maybe Drive Club, which I put down to being a bad port, not the hardware. But I don't know, like it's one of those things. If you got a 4K TV and you really want to push the limits of resolution, then it's worth it. For 1080p at this stage, I think it's still a gamble because it's going to be coming down to what people are going to develop for you in the coming months and years. Yeah. But yeah, and the funny thing is, it brings up a couple of extra problems. Like I saw a thing the other day where they were running The Last of Us, and as you know, The Last of Us on PS4 runs at a solid 60 frames.
Yep.
And that was part of the deal. You could switch between 30 and 60, and that was kind of a big deal because back, especially then, they were finding it hard to optimize a lot of games to run at 60 frames on the PS4. So what happens now is they do this thing with 1080p scale where they output as close to 4K as you'd get if you played 4K, but then they dither it down to a 1080p image. And what that does, it gets rid of any edges and jaggies and things that may not look kind of crisp and stuff. It's like taking a large photo and shrinking it down always looks better than just having a photo in that resolution.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good, but the process of doing that means that it drops frames. So now when you run Last of Us on a PS4 and Last of Us on a PS4 Pro in 1080p, the image is going to look a little bit better, marginally, but it runs at a staggered frame rate. Like it doesn't hold a solid 60. It drops down to 50. And, whereas running it next to the PlayStation 4, it's just capped out at 60. Yeah. And I just think that's kind of interesting. Like it's sort of created new challenges for developers for optimization where it should have made the process a lot easier, So again, I'm still waiting to be like in awe of it. But I'm assuming it's going to happen more in the future, VR experience, I've tried a couple of things that I think have been optimized, and I did notice stuff looking a little bit better, but I mean, again, it could very easily just be placebo effect, like
Yeah.
It's nothing tangible. It's just like, oh, it looks kind of cool, but it always kind of looked cool, you know. So
Well, I think even with the VR, it's something you won't really notice it until a few months down the track, at least.
Yeah. When they get time to optimize things, patch things, and bring out games developed from the ground up with that in mind.
Yeah, that's going to be the key for the new games.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So what are we at? Wow, 1 hour exactly.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, let's put a fork in it.
Well, we both have to get ready for work. So.
Yeah, that's right. Are you working tonight?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll see you there. All right, so thanks for watching. This is podcast was brought to you by Wyer Art in lieu of a real sponsor. If you're watching the stream, you want to listen to us on your commute, search iTunes for Pretty Sketchy. If you're an audio listener but want to see what I'm actually doing, check us out on YouTube. Again, under Pretty Sketchy Podcast. Thanks again for Michael for joining us.
Yeah, and this podcast is also brought to you by the Jamaican bobsled team, apparently.
And Defacast, because we're doing that cross promo thing. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. All right. Thanks a lot, man.
No worries.
Bye.
See ya.